Your hosts, Landon and Jade, are a married couple of 17 years and counting, are here to give you a swift kick in the ass. There will be some tough love, but we are here to support you to the greatest life you can have. We will bring the sarcasm and humor. You just bring yourself.
Hi, everybody, and welcome back to the Back Roads to Us podcast. On today's episode, we're talking about the trifecta of the most awesome things in a marriage, which are friendship, laughter, and orgasms. So, we're going to talk today about those three things and how they can make your marriage better and why you should do them. So, let's get into it. Let's talk about friendship. Let's talk about why you should and want to be friends with your significant other and kind of the benefits of what you're going to receive from doing that, which I don't know why you wouldn't want to. So, when you have a best friend, the qualities you have in a best friend, you have someone who supports you even when you're doing stupid shit, someone who loves you unconditionally, someone who motivates you, lifts you up, makes you feel better even on your low days. There's someone that you can talk to and they kind of know everything about you, so sometimes you can talk and you don't have to say words. And you can get that honesty and tough love from the other person. So most people, they have their best friends. The girls have their girl best friend, the guys have their guy best friends. So why wouldn't you want that with your spouse? For me, it's like, why wouldn't I want all of that combined into the person I'm married to? Which we are, and I am, and we did that, and it's been the most amazing experience. But I think people kind of really don't see marriage as a friendship, as being married to your best friend. I think they see it as just another extension of maybe of them as a person, like their husband or their wife is separate than their friend group, and it's a different relationship that doesn't like overlap or connect. So one thing we want to talk about is how can you be that for each other? So let's go through that. So your best friend is your support system. So as a husband and wife, through the hard times, you should always be supporting each other. You should always be lifting them up. You should always be motivating them to do something good with their life, being better. You should know your spouse so well that you can look at them, they give you that facial expression, and you don't even have to talk. We do that a lot with each other. We just look at each other, and it's like you can hear the words come out of their mouth when they don't actually come out of their mouth. So on your end, do you feel the same way? Like when you got married, was that something you were looking for, or was that talking about being friends with your spouse, was that even in the realm for you?
Yeah. I think that's why we do everything together. There's not even when we were first married, I don't think we did a lot of stuff apart. Everything we did was together, and I think that's what helped develop the friendship. Even now, there's nothing that we do that's, there are certain things we do, appointments, whatever else, but if it's something that we do, for fun or together or to grow or whatever, it's always together. There's a lot of people that have friends that, they go with the guys hunting or fishing, and that's perfectly fine to have, your guy time or your time that you want to do this or whatever. But for us, it's been, if we ever wanted to go do anything, whether it was fishing or, go hunting when I went with my grandpa, you went fishing. Like I would go fish and, you'd go and take pictures or the dogs would run around, but everything we did was together. And I think that just helped develop that closer friendship. We've never had the point where it's just like, I got to get away from you, So, just the little things are, vacations, like we don't ever do that without each other. And I think a lot of that happened with developing interests that we both liked, or whether we didn't like the activity or whatever it was, we either learned to like it or just took an interest in it because the other one of us liked it. And I think that helped develop that friendship to where now we don't even think about doing anything apart or think about doing a vacation or going with the girls or whatever, or going out with the guys. It's just either we go as a couple, or we just don't go.
Mm-hmm.
And it just seems to work better for us that way.
I think it brings more sustenance to your marriage when you have that deep connection, because you're not going to someone else outside of your little team that you have to talk about your problems, to share your joys, to share your problems. While that's not a bad thing, the first person you would run to or should talk to or call is usually the person that you're married to or your significant other. That you should have. I feel that everyone should have that deep connection with their spouse or significant other, just because that's that relationship that you're growing. You're growing that to make it better and better and better. So you need to put your all into it. You need to learn them throughout your life and keep growing and growing and growing.
I mean, for younger couples and people that are just, say, recently married, I mean, it is hard because when we were first married, it's your life before you were married was, your high school friends or your college friends. Just depends on when you got married, or if it is, maybe you didn't have a lot of friends in high school or in college, maybe it's your parents, maybe it's your family, it's your friends. And so there's a lot of that trust that has to be earned and give and take in the beginning, because if there's a problem in your life or a medical problem or a car wreck or just anything financially or whatever, I mean, the first person you're going to run to when you're originally married is, it might be your parents, might be a sibling that you're really close with, or, a really close friend or whatever. So until you develop that relationship of friends and trust with your partner, it's tough in the beginning, because I know we had the same problem a little bit when we were first married, to where if something happened, like, you call your mom or you call your dad, or I call my dad and tell him, hey, this happened today or whatever, instead of the first person you call is your spouse, so that they feel like, you're giving them that trust or whatever. So it does take a little bit of while to build that trust of friendship, because a lot of friendship is there's a lot of too much of, yeah, you're doing good, you're doing this, and there's nothing wrong with being a positive upbringing and positive reinforcement. But your best friend should be the person that can tell you, hey, when you're doing something, knock it off. You need to get your shit together. Like, you can't be always building someone up if they're doing something wrong, and you need to be able to have that relationship where you can tell them to knock it off. I don't know what you're doing, but this isn't working. You need to be able to have that kind of a conversation, and that's what your friends should do. And that's what I think we've been able to do and develop, is just, hey, if you're doing something, you need to knock it off. Like, I don't know what you're doing, or who you're, just whatever the situation is, or if you're doing something, hey, you're doing a good job. There has to be some give and take in both directions there, in order to keep the friendship, the communication, just the whole atmosphere of being married alive.
Mm-hmm. Do you feel, um, as the other person, let's say it would be me and a best friend, and something really good or something really bad happened, how would it make you feel if I went to them first and told them those things, then you found out second? Would that hurt your feelings?
I think at some degree, yes, because you're expecting that person to confide in you or give you that good news so you can be happy for that person. There's certain situations where I think, I don't know, you run into somebody and you give them this good news because you just randomly ran into them. I mean, that's understandable, but you would hope that the first person that you think of, if you have good news, bad news, just, or how's your day going, would be your spouse, the person you're married to. You would think that would be that person. If it's not that person, then maybe there's something that needs to be fixed, because that should be number one. The person you're married to should be number one in any category, and that's how you make that work.
Well, yeah, if when you go into a medical and it says emergency contact, if you put their name on there and it's your husband or your wife, they should be the first person you call for most things. So let's talk about how to do that for each other. How do you be a friend to your significant other? And I think it goes into the little things, just like you would for any friendship with just another person. With your spouse, it's the same thing. All you have to do is, like, during the day, you always check in. You always check in with me and say, how's your day going? That, to me, is important because it shows that you're thinking about me and that you care. And to me, that's what a friend does. They check on you and they see how you're doing. I mean, it may be a 2-minute conversation. It may go a little bit. Is it hard for you to remember to do that, to check in?
No, I don't want to say it's hard, but the easiest way I have to remember it is just like every day, depending on what shift I'm working every day at 7 o'clock, it's just, hey, are you up? Make sure you're up and going for the day. Or whether it's, on a different shift and it's you're texting me when you get home, or, at lunch, every day I go to lunch at this time, that's when I send my text out because, sometimes during the day or whatever job you're on, you're busy and you can't do that. So it's like setting that time for like a schedule of, certain times of the day where you actually send that message out just to let you know the part of the friendship and the marriage thing. There's a fine line there to where the best way I can equate to it is your parents. Like when I grew up, are you a parent or are you your kid's friend? Because if you're too much of a friend, you're not a parent. There's a lot of times you don't need to sit there and be a friend all the time. There's discipline that needs to happen, and you actually need to be a parent and help your kid grow. And it happened, when my parents got divorced, me and my brother, we had parents and we had discipline, we had rules, and then we grew up. And then when my parents got divorced, they turned into friends with my sisters. And it was who could be the biggest friend because they were trying to pull sides instead of being a parent. And the girls got away with everything. And there was no discipline. And so there's no parenting going on. So even with a marriage, I mean, we can be friends, but there's times where the relationship has to kick in to the point where you're husband and wife and different things happen than you would with friends. Like there's certain things you're going to go out and do with your friends that's not okay as a husband and wife, and that's not everything. We're going to do things different than I would with my friends. You go out with the guys, and sometimes they go to the bar and they get drunk and they do stupid shit. Well, me and you don't do that. If we don't even go to a bar. Like you go to a speakeasy, okay? And we sit down and have a couple of drinks and we have a conversation and talk and have a couple of drinks and we go home. But you're not out acting like an idiot out at the bar getting in trouble. So you're doing the same type of activity, but you're doing it in a different manner.
Yeah, and that's a good way to put it.
You do it differently with your spouse than you do with your friends, and it's almost like your spouse keeps you at a level that keeps you, I don't know, saying from getting in trouble or doing something stupid, because you don't want to embarrass them. You don't want to embarrass me. I don't want to embarrass you or do something stupid or whatever, get thrown in jail. Now, when you're out with your buddies, it's like, haha, what can I do to make this guy look like a dumbass? Or what can I do to, be funny or whatever? Well, I'm not going to do that to you, because there's not only a friendship and a relationship, but there's a respect line there that you don't cross. There's certain things that you just don't do to your spouse that you would do to your buddy.
Mm-hmm.
So you get to do the same type of activity. It's just on a different level, and it's maybe in a more of a controlled atmosphere, controlled level or whatever.
Well, I mean, I like how you brought that up, because in a way, like you said, there's friendship and then it goes a level above. There's that intimate relationship that takes on another role.
But that turns into the respect issue right there. When you get into the intimacy and the relationship level, it turns into a matter of respect.
Mm-hmm.
You can go out with a bunch of buddies, bunch of girlfriends, and I cannot like a person that's in the group and don't really have any respect for him and do something stupid and get him in trouble or embarrass him. But I would never do that to you, because there's just that point where it's like that. I wouldn't like it if you did that to me, so there's that level on the relationship, which is nice to go out because you don't have to worry about that other thing happening, or the embarrassment, or getting in trouble, or the police getting called because you're doing something stupid,
So the trust.
Yeah, it's big time.
Because imagine if, and I've seen this with friends, but when there's some with those relationships that I guess if you look at it that way, how you explained it, they are more friends than they are that upper level, because when they go out together, they get shit-faced and they cause scenes and they cause drama and they're just being stupid. And yes, I can see where they don't have that extra level to that friendship. But you look
at those couples also that have the drama. They're always fighting. They're always doing this. They're more of what I would like to call roommates than they are married.
Mm-hmm.
It's like they got married, but they're not emotional together. They're not in a relationship. They just live together, and they go out and they're always fighting. They get drunk, or they're always bickering or whatever. And those are the couples that you see. They're always, you go to someone's house and they're throwing jabs at each other, and they're, not getting along, and they're always in a, bad mood with each other or whatever. And we don't seem to have that problem. Your relationship's on a different level. So you got to be in a relationship. You got to have respect. You're married. You're not roommates. You are friends, but your relationship becomes more than your friendship should.
What would be a good word for that? It's not best friends and it's not friendship. It's like,
No, because see, friends come and go. You talk about friends like you've got levels. You've got people that aren't your friends, and you have acquaintances, and then you have your best friend or your companion. Now, I mean, acquaintances are great. I mean, acquaintances can be a person you can sit down and have a beer with. You're friendly with. You see, hey, how you doing? You're always nice to them. You could sit down and have a beer, go to dinner with them, whatever. But then they go their way. That's not a best friend. A best friend's the type of guy that you can do something and they can sit you down and say, hey, you know what? That was stupid. You need to knock it off. You need to change what you're doing. You're ruining your life, and actually give you the tough love. Where us as a couple, we can do that to each other, and we're still around each other. I mean, people have hundreds of acquaintances through their life, and how many actual best friends does someone actually have that's been around forever, that can give you the tough love when you need it to straighten your shit out so that you're not doing something dumb and you're being a better person and you're growing? I mean, how many people can actually say I have that one person in my life other than the person they're married to? So, and sometimes it's not the person they're married to, but with us, I could say our friendship could be at that best friend level because we can do that with each other and still make the marriage part work, because there's other things in a marriage that you do that you would never do with a best friend. So there's got to be that happy medium between the two.
we're BFFs. We're best friends forever. Yes, and I really think that's interesting if you think about it, because when I was thinking about this, I didn't go to that other level of it. But yes, you're right. So there has to be, you have to have that friendship with your spouse, but you have to find that level of friendship with your spouse of, like you said, the roommate friendship, the acquaintance friendship, we're going to say, is that kind of, or the best friends friendship, which is going to basically keep you in a relationship with someone long term, because a best friend is someone who has seen you go through multiple shit, been there with you through it all, knows that you're a good person at heart and wants to help you figure your shit out, or you do the same for them.
I mean, I've always, and this I guess wouldn't work for everybody, but I mean, in order to find out who your best friend is, or just think about it, if someone were to talk badly or rude or something of that nature about someone, who would they talk about that would offend you? If they're talking about somebody I went to high school with, or a guy at work or whatever that you say is your friend, and they're talking badly about that person, or they don't like this person or whatever, and it doesn't offend you, are they your best friend? I mean, you got a list of people. I don't put up with people talking. I don't like wife jokes. I don't do that kind of thing. I don't talk about my wife badly around other people ever. I don't like it when other people make wife jokes. That just makes me mad. I don't put up with people talking bad about my brother. Those two people is like a sore spot with me. You just don't do it. Those two people to me are who I consider in my friendship. I mean, I could tell you or my brother anything and not worry about anything. Those two people, that you don't talk bad about them when I'm around. I don't put up with it. I don't accept it. It's just the way it is. I mean, there's certain people in your life that you get that relationship with, that obviously that person actually means something to you.
And do you feel like in order to get to that person had to earn that respect from you, or earn that love and affection from you. Not everybody just gets that.
I don't like the term that you have to give respect to get it, or respect is earned. That's my philosophy in that. You don't just automatically get respect if I meet you. You don't just automatically get me to like you. Mm-hmm. Either you can give respect and then get it back, but if you're not going to be respectful, I am not going to give you the respect. You don't just get it just because of who you are. Mm-hmm. I don't care who you are. Don't be disrespectful. Don't be rude. Don't be whatever the nature. I'm not going to give it back to you. I mean, that's one of those things where that's a more of a hot topic with me. If you can't be respectful, then I promise you I will be more disrespectful than you. Like, I will top you in that, just because I'm not going to put up with it. This is the way it is. Don't be that way.
Well, and that happens even in a marriage.
Yes.
I think the one thing I really hate, like you talked about how you don't say disrespectful things about each other, whether to them or away from them. But also you see some of those, it just blows my mind how just utterly rude and disrespectful the other person can be to this person who's supposed to you're supposed to have their back, and you're over there just throwing slander at him, calling him words. And I just feel so bad for that person. I'm just like, why don't you stand up for yourself and tell that person to back the fuck off?
Well,
And it's just,
how can you be friends with a person when you can talk to that person that way,
yeah.
or married to that person, or feel an emotional connection to that person if that's the way you talk? Because you don't just talk that way to be funny. There's something hidden behind that, or that's something how you actually feel. Like, you don't just randomly blurt that out like, haha, this is funny. Like, there's always some hidden little meaning behind it. And people can say there's not, but you watch it and you can tell, like, the tone of the joke changes, or the tone of the voice changes, or whatever, and you can just tell there's something hidden there, and it doesn't end up working. You can't belittle, you can't talk bad about your spouse in front of them or behind their back. That it's not acceptable in any way.
Yeah, I agree. So let's kind of number some things. So how to do that for each other is maybe check in, always looking out for them, supporting them, having their back, not talking crap about them behind their back, giving them respect, giving them love when they need it. I think all those would constitute a really good friendship in any marriage. That would be a good way to move towards making sure that your marriage is happy. So let's go into let's talk about laughter. So we all know laughter is contagious. Laughter is amazing. Laughter will make you feel so happy, so joyful. It kind of makes you just forget if you're having a bad day, or it brings your levels up. It's a little bit of a release. And I know that some situations laughing, there's going to be some situations that you're not supposed to. I'm really bad about laughing in inappropriate situations. I'm one of those people that I have to keep my mouth shut because I see things that are funny and it's like, it's not appropriate. And I find that quite hilarious because something's inappropriate and we're not supposed to say anything. And I look over at Landon and he gives me that look like, don't you fucking say anything. But I can see we're both about ready to laugh. So it's wonderful that we can do that with each other and have that relationship of, you know what I'm thinking, and I don't got to say it. I just got to look at you and you smile and I'm like, okay, so it makes me happy. But, it's honestly the cheapest therapy you can get is laughter. And so what you should do and what you want to try to do with your spouse is to find laughter and humor in every day, because I feel like it's only going to make you feel better and your relationship feel better. I think there has to be that looking on the bright side, the happiness in it. You got to be able to have that levity, because damn, some days are just hard as hell. Some experiences are hard. And to have that person there who's, goes through it with you, gets you there, but gives you that little bit of a nudge of, hey, it's okay. Like, makes you laugh. And I always remember, and you still do it, you always told me, you're like, well, I made you laugh today, right? I made you laugh. And you do. Every day. He makes me laugh. He finds something, whether he irritates the hell out of me. I have that really bad thing where I smile when I'm super irritated. And he enjoys it. He absolutely enjoys irritating the shit out of me until I smile. And that's like your one goal in life.
Yeah, the laughter thing, and I think luckily for me, I've got a weird memory when it comes to just like everything. Like, I hear a movie or a TV show one time and I remember the weirdest lines from it, and we'll be out doing something and I'll quote a line from a movie that happens to go well with whatever situation, and you laugh and you know exactly what it's from. So it's something that we have as a couple. Like, if I'm at work and I were to say something like that people would understand, but if we're together, it's like you laugh. It's just something, from a TV show like Friends or that 70s show or just a movie or whatever. And if I quote the saying that's in the show, you tend to laugh. So it's just trying to, sometimes it lightens the mood. Sometimes it just makes you sit back and think for a minute, like, yeah, that was funny. Maybe today wasn't so bad. I mean, there's a lot of things that the laughter does that helps us out. You have a lot easier time laughing, in a bad situation, not in a good mood, than I do. But the laughter, just something that makes you laugh, is funny. Like, if you're sitting on the couch and you've had a bad day, it's like sometimes you just put on a TV show or a movie, even if you've seen it 40, 50 times, that's got some humor in it that you like, then you tend to smile a little bit, or just maybe relaxes you to some point or whatever. But the laughter is extremely important. I think it just eases things sometimes.
Well, yeah, because I know if you or I come home and we can look at each other and we know that the other person has had a bad day, and you want to give them the space to feel whatever they're feeling. If they're having a really shitty day, sometimes you just want to feel shitty. Like, I'm sorry, but you just do. So you give them a little bit of that space to come home, to wind down a little bit. Then you got to find your time of, you don't have to go out and tell a joke. Like, it's just giving them that I'm here for you. You do something that kind of cracks a smile for them. Sometimes that's enough. I'm not saying you got to go around and just be a comedian, but the fact of you can at least let them feel a little bit of that joy. Give them, and maybe I want to say the laughter and the levity and the joy. Sometimes when you come home and you have that safe space, that gives you a little bit of that joy when you've had a really shitty day. So maybe a way to help with your significant other is creating a space where they can come home, they can relax, they can decompress, give them their time whatever way that is that they need it, and then you can try to give them, get a little bit of laugh out of them, or just make them feel a little bit better. And I think that would be a huge thing for anybody, is giving them that space.
Well, and a lot of younger couples too, and we were the same way. Like when you first got married, there's always those things that obviously you already know makes your partner smile, laugh, whatever, because that was part of the dating. That was part of how you interacted with each other when you first dated. So you know certain things that make that other person laugh, smile. So it's like, don't forget that thing. Like, just remember that, because that could last for 35, 40 years. That one thing that you used to do when you were dating that made her or him smile, I promise you it probably will still work. I mean, it's just one of those things that obviously that's why they were attracted to begin with, because you did that one thing, or you did those two things that they liked, or they smiled, or just made them smile. So it's like, don't forget it. Keep doing it. Like, they get that saying that says, you should never ever stop dating your wife even after you're married. Just because you dated for 4 years, a year, 6 months, whatever, when you get married, that it's not over. You didn't just win. I mean, you got to keep working at that. You got to keep dating that person. So, if while you were dating, if being the friend was what worked, if being funny is what worked, if this is what worked, then don't stop doing that. Like, keep doing it on a daily, weekly basis, a date once a week, whatever it may be. Don't stop. Like, because I think couples get comfortable and then the friendship starts to fade.
Yeah.
Or the relationship starts to fade, and then the friendship starts to fade, and then this starts to fade, and then they grow apart because they stop doing what they were doing when they were dating, which is what attracted them to each other. So why did you stop?
Well, and I think for me, someone could be the hottest person out there, but if they can't make me laugh, if they can't have that sarcastic, dry humor that I have, or at least understand it, no. Like, no. I need someone who's got some character, but also someone whose spirit and soul comes out when they talk to me. Like, I want to be able to have a conversation. And yeah, I poke a lot, and I'm very sarcastic, and I'm dry with that. So if I go to talk to somebody and they don't get it, I don't want to talk to you anymore. Like, that's how I speak. I speak in sarcasm, and if you can't talk to me like that, then I don't want to go. So when you and I talk, obviously we just have that utter dry sarcasm where you still say shit that takes me off guard. Like, you say shit and I look at you like, that actually come out of your mouth, but it's so actually funny, it just takes me a second to laugh because it's so out in left field, or it's so sarcastic that I'm like taken aback by it, and then I laugh and then I laugh more the more I think about it, because it's actually quite hilarious. And that's what I need. I feel like as our marriage has grown on, as our friendship has gotten stronger, our humor and our laughter has gotten stronger. I think those things build upon each other as you're together longer, because you learn each other's nuances, and you learn, what makes them smile. So you not only continue to do it, but you continue to do it better and better. And it's so much fun. Like, it's literally so much fun to have conversations or to make jokes with each other, because they're hilarious and they're new. Or we can say the same old shit out of the same old movie, and I still laugh. Yeah, I laugh every time because I can picture it, or I can remember laughing my ass off at the movie, and it just makes me happy. and it could have just made me happy for 5 seconds. But that 5 seconds of laughter will bring your mental health so much stronger. Continually finding joy in something will just bring you out of your darkness all the time. And sometimes that's all somebody needs. It's just a 5 second laugh, a 5 second smile to make them feel just a little bit better. And I think that's something that everyone should try at least. Make that a goal. Every day with your spouse, try to make them laugh. Try to find some humor. Try to find some joy in the day and see how things go. See how much better you guys both feel. And now, the last one, which is my favorite, orgasms. All right. So, along with, you've seen the benefits we're getting out of having friendships with each other, out of laughing with each other. Well, let's add the third one, which is the best one, of orgasms. I mean, you have your girl friendships, your guy friendships, but guess what? You don't get orgasms with them. I don't know, maybe you guys do. But a married couple, that is the benefit you get with being married, is you have all these wonderful things and then you get to have sex with them. And the fact is, orgasms are a way to almost compound your joy, a way to make that ecstasy, that happiness, just give you that moment of freedom, of feeling okay. Honestly, sometimes if you can't find joy, go have sex and you'll be happy when you're done. Because it's going to bring you a stress relief. It can help you sleep better. It can make you have a better connection with each other. It can boost your self-esteem. It can boost your body image. Like, it does all these wonderful, amazing things. Why wouldn't you add it into your marriage? Which there's no reason why you shouldn't. So why wouldn't you try to have orgasms as often as possible with each other in a safe and healthy way? I know for us as a couple, orgasms, yes, I should say we should switch orgasms into intimacy. Intimacy is huge because, along with having the trust of a friendship and the respect and the joy and laughter with each other, the orgasms give you that third level of deepness, of that really strong connection that makes all these other things so much richer, and they make your marriage so much better. You basically turn yourself into a roommate if I don't get an orgasm from you. Like, why are we together if I'm not getting that basically level, that third level with you? I mean, I don't need to be married to you then. I mean, I can just live with you and we can be friends.
Yeah. I mean, like you said, it's good to change that thing, I think, to the intimacy thing too, because the orgasm comes along with it. But I mean, it can be a whole wide array of things, because I mean, there's sometimes that the intimacy could be, hey, we're sitting on the couch and, you had a rough day or whatever, and all you want is to lean over and lay on my shoulder, or you want me just to give you a hug or whatever. And that's part of being intimate with each other. But sometimes that's the extent of it. I mean, there's times where, you had a long day or whatever, and I come home and lay on the couch, and all I want to do is just put my head on your leg and lay down. And it's the most comfortable, relaxing thing I can do. And it's where I feel maybe most at peace. And, it's like 30 seconds to a minute and I'm asleep, because I actually feel comfortable. Like, I feel relaxed. So, I mean, the orgasm thing, I think, a lot of couples say they don't have time, or they're busy, or they're whatever. Make time. There's no excuse. You need to make time to be with each other in an intimate manner, no matter what's going on in your life. I don't even care if you have to schedule it. Stop whatever you're doing, make the time, because that's how people connect. I connect with you way more off of the physical nature than I do the mental nature. You sometimes are different, which is fine, but in order to make that work, you got to make it work. You got to make the time. You can't avoid it. You can't say, "Oh, I didn't have time," or, by the time the end of the night comes, I'm just too tired, or I just want to do this. You're not just too tired. It's an excuse. Make the time and be intimate with your partner.
I think a lot of times people say, well, it's just too busy, but what are you too busy for? Like, do you understand what you're saying? You're saying, I'm too busy to connect with you on a deeper level. I'm too busy to try to be closer to you. I'm too busy to put you first.
You need to make the time, because anything that you want to do in your life, you have no problem making the time to do that. You have no problem making the time to go to the gym, to go fishing, to go hunting, to go to the beauty salon, to get your hair done, to get your nails done, or whatever you do. If you really want to do it, you will make the time. So not having the time is not an excuse. You need to make it. Make it happen. Sometimes it's just something quick, having a quickie or whatever, but it's still that connection, because when you're doing that, you have the connection with the other person. So it's just, I don't understand, I guess, when they say they don't have to, because we've always made the time for it. You talk to some couples that say, we've only had sex once this week, or we do it once every 2 weeks or whatever. And I'm like, I don't understand. I'm like, you did what? I mean, if we go 2 days without doing it, like, one of us is starting to get irritated. So it's like, yeah, we constantly have sex. It's just the way it is, and we're married. And sometimes it becomes to a joke, and it's like, okay, are we going to do it? I don't know. Are we going to do it? Who's making the decision here or whatever? And it's like, I'm tired, or I got to do this, or I got to get ready, my lunch ready for the next day. And it's like, we make the joke is of, no, you have to, or you owe me. Like, you signed the marriage certificate. That's part of being married. And that's, we're joking around with it, but we make the time, and we do it. And it's worked out, well for us, and kept us close.
And honestly, there were times when, in a way, we had to make a schedule. We had to say,
Yeah.
our goal this week is we're going to have sex X amount of times. Because there are times that, yes, you felt like you're so busy, but what's really happening is you're not busy. It's just emotionally, you either don't want to connect, or you're just so emotionally fried of something. Maybe it's a really hard week, or whatever it is, or you're in a funk. Okay.
Well,
Like,
even
we
if
get
you're in a
that.
funk, though, it's like, okay, you go back to the friendship thing. It's like, okay, here's the tough love. What the hell's the problem? You don't want to have sex because of what reason? We need to figure this out. It's not healthy for our relationship. So what's the problem? Here's the tough love. Let's figure it out. Here's the best friendship coming into play. What's going on in your life that's making you not want to do it? You're too tired. You need to go to bed sooner, get more rest. You don't feel good. You don't feel good about your body. Well, we need to fix it then. But it's like, I had to make you realize that when we're having sex, I don't notice the parts of your body that you say you don't like about yourself. That's not what you're noticing when you're doing it. That's just not a thing that comes up. So, I mean, even if you think it is, it's not something that I'm seeing. Or if you think it is, then what do we got to do to fix it? We got to go to the gym. We got to eat better. You got to start doing this to make you just feel better during the day. Whatever it is, we got to fix it. And that's part of that friendship that ties into that, intimacy, is sometimes the tough love comes into play, and sometimes you don't need it. But it's got to be there, and your significant other's got to be in a position to where they accept that tough love. They can't be offended every single time you say something to them about what's going on, or why are we not having sex, or why are we not connecting, or whatever. It can't be an offense every time. I watched this thing today that said that one of the biggest problems in relationships is me over you. Every time I say something to you, you can't get offended as why did he say that to me, or why did this happen, or why did this happen to me, or why did you offend me? It's maybe sometimes it needs to be, why did I take offense to that? What is going on in my life that's making me be offended by what they said, or by this? Maybe I need to fix something so that doesn't happen.
Mm-hmm. I think a lot of times it's, well, why don't you understand that I'm just tired? Why don't you just understand that I've had a rough week? Why can't you just see that I've had this? So it's, why can't you see my problem? Okay, so flip it. The other person is saying, well, why can't you see that I need that intimacy from you to make me feel connected?
Yeah, why are you letting the outside world affect our relationship?
Mm-hmm.
Stop worrying about the outside world for 10 minutes, and let's be intimate with each other, and maybe it calms the situation down. Maybe it makes your day better. Maybe it makes whatever happened during the week better. But you got to stop letting outside events or people that did something to you that you will never see again, that their opinion is ruining whatever you got going on at home. Mm-hmm. I don't know. The too tired thing is just, that always gets me, because yeah, you may have had a rough day and you're too tired, but I got up the same time, if not earlier, and went to work all day. So I'm just as tired as you are. So what's the excuse here? And some nights, we're sitting on the couch and you just end up falling asleep. Like, you were just mentally and physically exhausted. And that happens sometimes. It's not like it's going to happen every day, but it needs to happen 3 or 4 times a week.
But let's say if you continually use the excuse of I'm tired for a week or 2 weeks
Then
or a month
something's wrong,
straight. Yeah.
and you need to figure something out.
Yeah.
You need to pull your head out of your ass, whatever, and figure it out. Like that's not an excuse to be used for 2 weeks, a week, a month. You're using I'm too tired to have sex for a month. Something's wrong, and you need to fix it.
Well, and you can see the when you're around couples and they're sexually frustrated, when the one is and the one isn't. Like the one's like, they'll be fine. It's okay. Yeah, we should probably do it a little bit more. And the other person's like, you can see on their face, they're like, fuck, yes, I need a freaking orgasm. I need to have sex. And they're a married couple, so they're not going to go to somebody else. So you have them, ball and chain to you, who is not willing to give them what they need to keep them happy. Because guys, if you, I know you may not want it, so you go and have sex with this person, but if you love each other enough, put their needs before yours on occasion, guess what? They're going to serve you. They're going to put your needs above theirs as well sometimes. Like, that's a give and take. If you're not willing to give of yourself to them, they're not going to give it back to you.
Well, everybody believes marriage needs to be 50-50, which is the biggest load of shit I've ever heard. Like 50-50 just does not work. There's sometimes it's, 80-20. Sometimes it's 70-30. Sometimes it isn't 50-50. If I come home and I notice that, say, you've had a really bad day and there are certain chores in the house that, say, you normally do, or there's certain things like you feed the dogs or whatever, it's like maybe I need to do an extra 10% because that day you just don't have that extra 10%. And it ends up being, 80-20. Or I end up doing more than you do that day, or you end up doing more than I do that day, because 50-50 doesn't always work, because you're not always going to meet in the middle. You're not always going to be in the same mood. You're not always going to have the same energy. So there's sometimes that maybe I have to initiate sex or I have to bring it up. You're still willing to do it. And there's sometimes it's the other way around. And that happens with everything in a marriage. You come home and you're in a bad mood because something happened at work. Well, generally you do this. Maybe I need to pick up the slack over here, because if I wait for you to do it, you just may not have the physical or mental energy to do that day. It doesn't mean you're not willing to do it, but it's got to be some give and take there, because the 50-50 thing it doesn't work that way.
No, and I think that's a beautiful thing that with a couple, if they can realize that with each other, if you can look at that person and know what a long day they've had or what a bad day, and you can say, let me do this to make it easier for them. Let me take care of them because I love you so much. I'm going to try to make your day better. And that's a beautiful thing. That's wonderful.
Well, why not do that if you're going to be married? Mm-hmm. Like you said, I can, get a roommate and they can pay me to stay here. What's the point of being married if you're not going to do all those things? You live with a roommate in college, or you live with a roommate when you're not married or whatever, and then you get married, and you would think that there's some part of you that's striving for that connection. Otherwise, what was the point? So when you start having these problems, or you're too tired to do this, or you're not being friends like you think you should, maybe it's time to take a step back and say, what's wrong? What's going on in my life or their life, or what do we need to fix? Because at one point, you got married to achieve this. And if you're not achieving that, why? Like, what's going on? What do we need to fix to get back to that point? Do we need to, like I said, go back on a date every week? On Saturday, it's date night, or it's lunch date, or we plan this, and we're doing it as a couple, and start doing the things you did when you were dating, so that you can achieve all of these things. When you're dating, you were probably having way more sex. That's just part of when you're first married. It's great. You're dating. So continue that through the marriage. Don't tell me you're too tired because we were doing it back here. When we first got married, we were, dating when we were here. We were doing this when we were dating. We're always laughing with each other. So keep doing it. Don't stop. And then your relationship seems to be healthier because you're happier. I mean, everything. It just seems to work better.
Yeah, I definitely see, or you can see and you hear from couples who have divorced or maybe split up. You can always connect that everything kind of started slipping, their sex maybe started first. Their laughter, their friendship. If you don't have these three things, one of them starts slipping, then the other, they will domino effect atop on each other, because you need these along with multiple other things in your marriage to make it work. But if you start slacking on any of these or start not feeling it, then the anger hits, and then the resentment, and then it's always their fault. It's always another issue, and then you dig yourself a hole so deep that sometimes you can't get out of it. Because if you just would have taken a step back, evaluated the situation and taken your own ego out of that situation and looked at it as, a third party observer and say what's going on in this situation.
Well, you've seen it a lot it was kind of weird during the whole COVID situation. You end up hearing stuff like on social media or in the news about how like divorce rates are up because no one could go do anything and they're stuck in the house with the person and they're ready to kill each other. And I was kind of like, I guess I didn't understand. Maybe it's because our situation's different. We always do everything together. We're always together. If we're not out doing something, we're at home together. We're watching, I don't know, a hockey game or a football game, or we're just doing something together in the house anyway, or we're always around each other. So it's like, yeah, we were in the house with each other during COVID, and it was like, so we weren't not getting along because we already did everything together anyway. So it wasn't, we don't have, a ton of friends we go do everything with, but we have, there's people we do hang out with, but everything was us. So we didn't have to worry about it. So I don't know. It was just one of those things where I didn't quite understand that. I do know some couples struggled with it because they were like stuck in the house with each other all the time, and that's apparently not what they were used to. But it's something that they grew into not being used to because they didn't do that when they were first married. No, nobody does. Like they want as much of each other as possible when they're dating and first married. So where and why did they grow apart? I don't know. And if that starts to happen, you need to take a look back and find out when and why it is happening so maybe you can fix it. Because if you go back to that dating sensation that you have when you're dating, that heart rate, the rush, the feeling, whatever, go back and do it again. If you start losing that, go back and start dating that person again. It's as simple as that. Like find the connection again. Some couples say that we stopped caring about ourselves and it transferred into each other. Like they let each other go. It's like I got married and I can drink as much beer as I want and get fat. And it's like, well, you realize you're turning into someone that your partner was not attracted to when you first got married. Your partner was attracted to this and you've turned into this. So it could be as much as your physicality and how you look, and don't let yourself go. You take care of yourself. Working out, vitamins, just at the gym, even the sex is better when you work out because you feel better. You're in better shape. You feel better about yourself. So there's a whole realm of things I think that lead to people falling apart, whether it's mental clarity, whether it's you're out of shape, you don't feel good about yourself, so you don't want to do these things. I mean, there's a lot of topics that you could go into that people, I think, start to fade away from each other, and you're growing away from that dating aspect of a marriage.
I think in general, if you think about it, some people when they say, "Well, I keep trying the same thing. I keep trying the same thing." Well, then maybe you know what? Try something new. Do like maybe you need to redate your significant other and try
Find
different
something new.
things.
Yeah.
But yes, you need to get back to that feeling of newness. Maybe you're so bored with the same thing. Okay, so tell that person, you know what? I feel like we just do the same thing every day and I just feel stuck. I feel claustrophobic. I don't feel like we do anything different and I am bored. Then you tell them, okay, let's try something new.
What would you like to do? Let's go do something different. Whatever it is, whether it's an activity, whether it's going out, whether it's not stuck at home, whether it's changing something different in sex. Like maybe you need to do something different. Maybe you need to just, I don't know what it is. And there's all sorts of things you can, do with sex that are different, or try something new, or it's a different type of date, or you're going to go on vacation. I mean, vacations I get can be expensive, but there's a lot of things you can do that are different than the normal stagnant lifestyle that you live, that you get accustomed to because, work and this and this and this, and it keeps going on. So what do we need to change? What are you not happy with? You're not happy with the intimacy? Okay, how do we change to a different form or a different way, or get something involved that, excites you or whatever, because there's always some sort of fantasy that somebody may have that you can maybe bring into the mix that makes it exciting, or the friendship thing or the laughter. How do we switch it up to make it more interesting? You just got to reconnect with that person.
I think in closing with this, the main thing is connecting with your significant other enough to make sure you have a relationship full of friendship, full of laughter, and full of intimacy. And if you don't have it, maybe you need to find ways, different ways, new ways, old ways, You need to find the ways to connect with them so that you don't lose any of those. Because I know for us, if we don't have any of those three in our marriage, you see it.
Well, and
You
there's
notice
a
it.
way to find it, because everybody, like I said, has had it at some point. Because there's no way you were attracted to the person, to date the person, to get to the marriage aspect of your relationship if you didn't at one time feel these things. So you were there at one time. You got to find out how to get it back.
Absolutely. All right, guys, well, we appreciate you joining us, and we will see you next Wednesday.